I think, I'll be very honest, we don't yet represent directors and writers, but that's very crucial to any agency, and we will too. I think that's just write something that's so amazing that it's impossible for the agent to not notice that and call you in for a meeting. I will tell you this, the industry is starved for good writing, for good scripts. They may not say it, they may not even respect writers enough, but they're all starved. Actors are constantly hungry for something that's new and that's original and that's cutting edge and yet hopefully accessible and commercial. I think directors and writers have a much better shot at getting noticed, maybe before actors, because there are a lot more people who want to become actors than there are who want to become writers and directors. That doesn't mean it's a small number of people that want to become writers and directors. There's lots, but I think it's also right. I mean, like, you could write something and impress someone very quickly, even if you're unestablished. But as an actor, you have to do something. You have to get an opportunity. You have to be given the opportunity. As a writer, you create your opportunity. Make sure you get your stuff registered. It's a sad truth. You do not send this great script unregistered to anyone. Do not send anything to anyone. They will. Unfortunately, there's a 90% chance of it.
There's a 100% chance. I'm sorry. There's a 100% chance they will take it.
Yeah. Don't. I think, there are log lines. I mean, all the books are there available. The writing books, which you may or may not write a log line. Send a really crisp log line, which is interesting and yet leaves a person curious to know. Oh shit! Let me meet this guy and let me see what this subject is. A full script should only be given when you sense that the person is genuinely invested in you and is genuinely going to do something about it. I think, again, the first rule applies to both. You'll have to move to Bombay. If you're looking at this as a career, that if your whole thing is going to be that when someone likes my script, I'll move to Bombay, it's going to be very hard. These things don't happen by post and email. You have to relentlessly be chasing producers, directors, agents, actors. It's unfortunately there is no shortcut to getting your foot into the door. Within the organization, I just realized that everyone has to read scripts here. I mean, like, if you're working with actors, you need to read scripts, you need to watch films. Within the team and hiring people, I definitely wanted people who were cinema literate, not just people who had done management. Management, I think, can be learned, but if you're someone who just doesn't know how to read a script or is not interested, then you're doing it literally like a robotic desk job. And I don't think this is a robotic desk job, because it asks so much of you that if you treat it just like a desk job, you're going to get there could be 100 desk jobs that might be easier than this. So I definitely was looking for people that loved cinema, knew how to read scripts, wanted to read scripts, even if their experience was. I think the important thing to do is to give back. Someone took a chance on me, I have to be willing to take a chance on others. And I think that's a mantra that I think we should all follow in life generally. If someone gave you a chance because they thought that they believed in you, then you should be returning that. I just think that's important to do. And sometimes you could be drastically wrong. You could have found some idiot who just didn't have the potential. But that's a chance you're willing to take, and you should be willing to take. And the discovery of finding someone who didn't, I mean, like, I really genuinely see it when I meet Karan and when I meet Bunty. I feel like they're really proud that they feel happy that, yeah, we took a punt on this guy who was not from a different field. Now, hopefully I will not shame them, and they'll continue to be proud. As far as talent is concerned, the funny thing was, a lot of these actors are actors whose films I had really bajao, as they say. So I'll tell you one very funny anecdote. Tiger Shroff is with us, and Tiger's a lovely guy, but I have not loved a lot of his past films. And one script had come to him, and he said, Rajeev, would you read it and give me feedback? And I did. And I sent him a long note, and that's what I do. I sort of send a feedback note, and I sent it on the WhatsApp group, and he replied back with a voice note. He's saying, I was reading this, and it just went, are we allowed to use oh, okay. And he was like, I was reading this, and it just reminded me of those good old days when he used to fuck all my films. So I was like, well, now I'm here to help you not make those choices. He still chooses what he wants, and if left to me, I wouldn't have advised him to choose those films. But I think I also can't turn Tiger Shroff into Rajeev Masand, right? That's not, I mean, he's not Tiger Shroff if he starts doing Udan and and Lutera and all that. So I mean, the truth, those are the films that I love. Devdi and all that. I mean, he's Tiger Shroff. What I hope I can do is try among that in those films that he loves, the action films and the films that allow him to show his great flexibility and his great sort of, is also be able to find vulnerability and find character and find the best script in that pile. So I mean, I'm hoping that is the job that one is able to do. With producers, it was funny. I met a lot of producers who said, "Oh, but you remember what you had said about my film?" So there was some of that as well, a lot of that as well. But I think you have to go in with humility. I will not. I'm not comfortable saying how great I am and all, and I'm not. None of us are. But I will say one thing about myself. I really do have a lot of humility, and it's not fake humility. I'm surprised by people who think they're great because I'm constantly insecure. And I think that for me, that has worked very well. Because if you walk into the room feeling like I'm smarter than everyone else, I don't know how to do that. That's amazing. I mean, that's great. I don't have that skill. So I also go to even those producers like, yeah, those guys, even those films which I said shitty things about, if those films worked, then they knew something about the audience, right? They had their finger on the pulse of the audience. You can't go in thinking, I know better, I know more. I think humility is a great leveler, and I think that's why I mean, a lot of people joked, a lot of, you said very rightly, when I took this profession, a lot of people said, you're not going to last 6 months. Wait, they will throw you out, and wait, now they will all get their revenge on you. And I think the only reason that they didn't was because they saw that this guy's come with humility. He's not pretending like he's better than us or he knows more than us. And some of them to said, "Acha, to aa gaye na tum kaam mangne for your actors." So I think you have to go in with humility and say that I'm here to learn. Hopefully I bring this much, and if you give me or my actor the opportunity, I mean, we'll be able to do some exciting things together. So no one has like tried to poison me or kill me yet. Yeah.
How that happened?
Smriti is very generous when she says, I'll tell you what happened here. And it's a good example of how an agent can hopefully, of hopefully an agent doing their job well, I'd like to believe. So, Vikramaditya Motwani, who's a filmmaker that I love, I've loved every film that he's made. Oh, okay, yeah. One of my favorite filmmakers. He called up and he said, "Rajeev, I know that you all represent a lot of girls, a lot of the female actors, and I'm making this film, and it's led by a female actor, and it's got AI, and it's got it's social media." He didn't tell you'll have probably seen Control. It's on Netflix. I didn't know a lot. He just said it's the girl has to anchor this film. She's a young girl, today's girl. That's all. And I said, Vikram, will you meet Ananya Pandey for me? And at that time, Ananya had done Gehraiyan, and Liger had either just come out or was going to come out, and we knew that that's not going to be something that's going to be appreciated greatly. And I just thought, Ananya is someone I had been working with her for about a year by then, and I felt there was something to her that people were not seeing. And that is the job of an agent. You have to be able to recognize your talent's potential. So I said, Vikram, would you meet Ananya for me? And I haven't asked Ananya anything. This is just on that first call that Vikram made. And he said, Ananya, he said, I saw her in Gehraiyan. I liked her, but I don't know. I mean, okay, if you're saying, I'll meet her. No promises, but I'll meet her. Now, here, I'm taking a punt on an actor who has not yet done the kind of work that one would imagine would qualify her to lead a film, with a director who is known to work with great actors, draw great performances, and make incredible films. And B, I'm also hoping that Ananya Pandey, who we work with, is someone who also sees value in working with a person like Vikramaditya Motwani. She could very well be an actor who said, no, listen, I want to do commercial films. I don't think this is really going to help me. And that is all the credit I will take, which is that I thought out of 7, 8, 9 top actresses that we work with, Ananya is the name that I gave. And he met her. No, before that I spoke to her and I said, Ananya, I mean, what do you think of doing possibly doing a film with Vikram? She said, wow, I mean, I'd love that. That's the first tick, right? You need an actor who gets it, who understands why that could be possibly game-changing and life-changing. So she got that. And then I said, all I've got is a meeting. You want me to come for the meeting? She said, no, I'll go on my own. And I'm like, okay, I hope she impresses him, and I hope he'll consider her. She's gone for that meeting and she called me back and said, I got the script. And I know if you've got the script means you've impressed him enough to, he wasn't planning to give you a script, he was just planning. And then he said, listen, she was amazing. She got it, she got the references, she came well prepared, she'd seen my films. As an actor, you also want to, if you're meeting a filmmaker, go prepared. There's no, I mean, literally yesterday, and I'm not going to name one of my actors, I set up a meeting for her with a producer of some very great TV series. Sorry, not TV series, web series. I mean, I'm not going to name because it'll become awkward. And she's been badgering me to get that meeting. And I got her that meeting, and my colleague who went with her tells me that the maker asked her, so what have you loved about our shows? And she said, I haven't seen any of your shows, I've just heard that you all make great shows. That's a horrible first impression that anyone's going to have. I mean, I'm almost certain they're never going to call her again. How can you go unprepared in that way for a meeting, which I have taken great pains and begged someone to even take that meeting? So Ananya was obviously the opposite. She either did already know enough about his work or went well prepared, but charmed him, completely showed him that she would commit to it in the way that she did. It was a shoot of, I think, 10 or 11 days, and it was an intense shoot, and it was, everything's being shot on phones, and it was, it was very experimental, and a lot of the established actors, I don't know how many of them would do it, because they have opportunities, right? A lot of these star kids have opportunities to do bigger films. But she did it. She got that script first. She got the film, and here is only when that, for lack of a better word, that sort of jugalbandi between agent and actor works. A, that you know that what that actor needs at that time in their career. B, that you're, and a similar thing happened with Mrunal. Mrunal Thakur was with us, and there was a script I'd heard which was really incredible. The film hasn't come out yet, and I just told that filmmaker. In fact, there was another actress who was cast in that film, and I told that producer, Maddock, Dinesh Vijayan. I said, Dino, would you think of Mrunal for this? And he's like, I've already cast this part. I said, she would be amazing. She's a really good actor, and I promise you she'll get this film. Because it's a little bit of an edgy film with a Me Too subject and stuff, which again, not a lot of girls would do. And again, I'm just taking a shot in the dark. She may not want to do it. And I've called Mrunal, who's shooting in Hyderabad. She says, if you're saying it, I'm sure it must be good. She has flown in for the day, come, tested, nailed it, gone back. He has uncast or decasted the other girl and cast Mrunal in that. Yeah. That one is a... So, and that film hasn't come out yet, but those are the things. When you know what your actor is capable of, when you know you hopefully know your actor's taste and ambition, and then you know that you believe in their talent, that they'll go in there, and their convincing power, that they'll go in there and they'll get it and come back. And in both cases, this happened. So I hope the second film is also something that turns out to be so good that, and those are the little vindications that you have as an agent. You don't get the paychecks that they get, and you don't get the hoardings that they get. But when it turns out right, there is no greater joy. Because when done correctly, you could have a small hand to play in shaping someone's career, and that is so incredible. And to me, when everyone asks, you were a critic for so long, that was such a great, that was, you had, everyone was listening to you. I feel like the stakes here are so much higher. You can actually play some role in shaping someone's career if you do it well and if you do it right. So the responsibility is far greater.
So good afternoon, sir. This is really incredible, very informative and enlightening. I'm Dr. Rashmi Sharma. I'm a teacher at Royal Global University. I teach in the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication. So some of my students do have questions, but I'll just start from my side. I have two questions. One is as a journalist, you have a very different kind of a mindset. You rule, you can make or break someone. But as an agent, as you said, humility is very essential, and you are constantly you're constantly thinking of doing something productive for that person, helping out. So that transition, if at all there was any, and that whole, changing gears, how well did that go for you? And that is one. And I'll just also, the other question, it just occurred to me when you mentioned Meryl Streep and all. Yes, I do agree. The shelf life for women actors is very short in India, but it's not so in Western countries. So what is your take on it?
So the first one, the transition, again, you were being very generous. I don't think you can make or break anyone, but I think that people make you feel that way, and sometimes that's why our heads swell. But I think I mean, there was no transition. I think, I was so kind of bored of doing that, that I was just ready for a fresh challenge. And I kind of realized that you have to treat this as a new thing. And it's great that I did that for very long, but I had to think of it as something I'm starting from scratch and new. And that's where the humility comes from. I didn't know anything about this profession. Everyone in my workplace, every single person in my workplace was more experienced than me, and I was their boss. So it was a very strange kind of situation. Everyone had done it in the new job in the agency. Everyone had at least put in 1 or 2 years, and some had put in 10 and 20 years. Okay, maybe not 10 and 20. 10 years, it's the kind of job you can't really do for very long. You go nuts. And I was their boss, so you have to go in, and I think that's the thing that people. I think that's a reason that I have a great rapport with my colleagues. I'm not that boss who behaves like I know more than you. So I think that's important. I think that's where the humility came from. I said that actors are. I don't think female actors have a shorter shelf life. I think they have a shorter shelf life as leading ladies, unfortunately, or as commercial leading ladies. Today you can. I mean, it's much better today than it was, and I think that's important. I think we often compare, as we all do, with the West. I think it's important to compare with ourselves 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, because the gap between us and the West is so wide that we will always be disappointed, and we'll always feel like it's unfair here. But if you just compare it to 5 or 10 years ago, I think it's a better situation. A lot still needs to be done, but I'll tell you why. I think the problem here is it's the nature of the roles that are written, right? I mean, no one writes roles for anyone except 25 to 30-year-old actors, male and female. I mean, who writes great parts for a 40-something-year-old actress? Actors still, I mean, again, it's changing, and that's why you see actors like Vidya Balan and Madhuri and a lot of them who are, and I'm sticking to the mainstream. But over there, that's not true. It's also because the business has this horrible way of drilling into our heads that if you're beyond a certain age, you don't add value. Forget beyond a certain age. I'll give you an example. Even in a film like Bhool Bhulaiya, let's say the new one, okay? It's always seen as a Kartik Aaryan film. Nowadays, conversation, but no one wants to listen to that. But the truth is that you had to work hard to earn a voice. You had to earn your first byline. I remember how many years it took to get the first byline and to get the first front page story, and how exciting that was. Down at young kids who are doing things right and saying, "Ye zamana." It's not true. You also have to sort of adapt. But I think that what is not negotiable is the credibility, right? As a journalist or a critic, because otherwise people will give you some amount of attention and some power, and some actors will call you for some parties, and they'll call you on the phone, and look, I really want to say they're wearing the other hat. So actors will make they will be nice to anybody. They are actors. They act more off camera than they act on camera. So they will give you so much importance because you have some, whatever is perceived as power. Please don't believe it. Do not believe it. They don't care shit. You are only as important as the seat that you're in. And that, the minute you understand that, I'd like to believe that I knew that in my last profession, and that's why I was not surprised about discovering it to a much greater degree in this profession. They really don't care about you. They don't care about. They just care about you liking them and liking them by writing nice things about them, by saying great things about them, and by basically blowing smoke out their ass. But you're really of no other use to them, and I mean they're really largely transactional in nature. I'll give you, even in my job, my current job, and you work very hard with actors, you try to get them great opportunities, and then they leave and they go to another place. And the first time that happened, it was heartbreaking, and then you realize, no, this is transactional. You're not supposed to get emotional. It's a job. You get paid for it. Make sure you're paid very well for it, because there's no other satisfaction. I think that journalists and critics who start to think that access is important, and if an actor is calling you up or talking to you because you're writing great things, you're kind of losing credibility, and your voice will not matter after a point. You will kind of blunt your own edges, and while, and then those same actors who are giving you bhav will finally not give you bhav because you have no clout as a journalist or as a critic. So I see that a lot, and I think that again I don't blame the young kids. I blame the system. I blame the fact that today you don't really require any skill or any qualifications to have an opinion on something that you have not even. I mean today. And again, I'm sorry I said I don't want this to sound like the uncle who's saying this about young people, but it's going to come across as that. Today, there is no, I mean, people who don't watch films are also reviewing films. I mean, like, who have never watched, forget 60s and 70s ka films, they've not even watched like 90s ka films are sitting in reviewing films. And I'm like, what perspective are you bringing? I mean, it's just the times that we live in. This could fast become a pity party, so let's not.
One last question, because I know everyone's desperate. Yeah, please.
Hi sir, my name is Jyotiranjan Das and I have watched most of your interviews, and I want to congratulate you for being the first roundtable in India, and
You just copied it from Hollywood Reporter.
yeah exactly, and also I want some insights of how you conduct interviews with multiple actors, and how do you organize it, and some insight on your first roundtable as well.
Thank you for the kind word. The first one was, I think we did an actors roundtable with, it was very ambitious. We just tried it. We said, let's see if we get it. And we got Amir and Ranbir Kapoor and Irfan Khan and Nawazuddin. And it was just
God.
Cool. I was lucky to have first movers advantage. I did it before the others, so I was able to get a lot of these great coups. One year we had Mr. Bachchan and Ranbir and Sushant and Shahid and Diljit. And the first time we did it with women, we had, and the first year we never did an actress roundtable because I was like, this is the problem. When you believe nonsense without experiencing it yourself. I was like, women are never going to sit together. Yeah. Stupid thing I did. I never had an actress.
Which is true.
roundtable.
A lot of people believe that, and they weren't putting women
The
together.
first year I got
on discussions.
Deepika and Kamana and Vidya and Nimrat. It was the second year of the roundtable. It was the first year I said like, koi nahi aayega. And we got it. And the next year I had Priyanka and Tabu and Pariniti and Alia.
You had
And
everyone.
one year we had Alia and Deepika
Rani.
and Rani and Tabu and Tapsi. And there was a, so it's about it's about the intention. Is your intention to play? What is it? First of all, I feel like people don't. I feel like what is a round table? Why is it called a round table? Why is the emphasis on the round table? The whole idea of the round table is it's a table of equals.
Yes.
So if there are round tables, if the idea is to play up someone is more important than the other, it's failed immediately. The idea is that you've got 4 or 5 people who you believe are the best of that year. At least that's what ours was structured on, and you're getting them to participate in an equal conversation, which is why the year that we had, say, Nawaz and Irfan, Nawaz had barely worked. I think that was the year of gangs, which was his biggest year. But he was on a table with Amir Khan, who arguably is one of the biggest stars and one of the greatest actors. But the idea is that it was supposed to be sort of this meeting place for just great, people who had done great work. How do you talk to them? I mean, I remember being a little bit nervous, but I think if you're naturally curious, and I think that's true of just journalists, right, who interview people for a living. If you're naturally curious and you ask questions that you think people want to, forget people want to, that you want to know the answers to, give people a chance to speak. I see so many journalists, and I'm not even talking about film journalists, I'm talking even about political journalists who are more excited about speaking themselves, and you want to tell them, but no one has come here for you. They want to hear the other person. Of course you must give your opinion, of course you must ask great questions, but let someone have a chance to speak. And I think that's, I remember a lot of actors telling me that, listen, we really felt that we got a chance to speak. And be able to speak at length. And also, I don't think a lot of people were getting actors to talk to each other, which is some of the feedback I got. Like, a lot of them said, wow, I remember Amir saying, man, I would never have got a chance to speak with Irfan. I would never have got a chance to ask him about his process. So, I really got lucky that I was the first person that didn't hear. But, the Hollywood Reporter and LA Times were doing it, and that's where one sort of borrowed the format from.
Okay, one more question. I'm just being greedy. Sorry. Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So, hello, sir. Myself, Tazmal. I'm a student of MAGMC from RGU. So, thank you for being here, and it's a great opportunity for us. So I would like to ask about your take on nepotism. So I think, like, from my opinion, so I mean that it's just a father or mother who have worked really hard and got the power and achieved success, just want his or son or daughter to be successful. So is it totally wrong?
Hello, hi. Hi, sir. First of all, thank you for gracing us with your presence. Secondly, my question, or just like a thought process I have is, when you're talking about talent, right, we see that how we have come from silver screen to the smaller screens, YouTube and everything. Do you think the process has changed? Also because I am recently getting into YouTube content, we're making things. So do you think that there are some particular points that we should remember when we're hiring talent or getting actors for the digital media? How do you think that has changed? The virality factor.
And if you have the clout and the power and the muscle to be able to get the right person for the job, even if that person isn't necessarily the most saleable person for the job, you should do that. You should try to get the best actor for the job, because the shows that we remember and the films that we love and the shows that we love, we remember them because those were performed by actors who fit those roles to a T, and not because a film star that didn't actually fit into that role was in that film, and that film became big. You remember great films and great parts because those actors became those characters. So if you and I also understand it's easy for me to say because the market forces will try to tell you, no, get a bigger star for this. But wherever you can, especially in short form content, try to cast the right actors. Hopefully those actors will become bigger actors, and when I say bigger, I mean in terms of the currency that they bring and the equity that they bring, that they'll be able to be able to be in bigger projects where they'll add value to those projects. But I think it's absolutely incumbent on the creative fraternity to try to get the best people for the job rather than the people who will be able to get you green lights. And I understand that it's important to also get people that are able to get you that green light. But if the power is in your control, if you're making a short film or you're making where the budget does not depend on who you've got in it, take those chances there, because you're creating an actor that 5-10 years down the line could be someone that will have a lot more equity. On nepotism, it's something that one can't fight. I also think that it's this old argument, right? If I am a big actor and my kid wants to be an actor, I'm going to help him. Just as if I was a doctor and my kid wants to be a doctor, I'm going to help him. Fortunately, I think today the stakes are very high, and the best version of yourself. And genuinely, if you look at the shows and you look at the films out there, you will see that there are a lot of opportunities today, even for actors who are not. And with the streaming boom, the kind of shows, the kind of films, and look at a show like Mirzapur, look at shows. I mean, all of these great shows, Arya, all of them. I mean, there are so many actors, all of Rajeev Masand shows. Yes, they are held at the top by big stars, but if you're getting a foot in the door, I mean, there are some very fine actors who have come up the hard way. The opportunities are not, genuinely there is enough work in Bombay, there is enough work for actors, for all actors, for most actors. The problem is everyone wants, like I was telling you earlier, everyone wants, मेरे को ये इसमें सिर्फ 2 सीन है, मेरे को लीड प्ले करना है, बस भाई लीड प्ले, मतलब क्यों देगा मेरे को लीड, unless your father is putting them up.
And just as a few examples, there's Vijay Verma, there's Jaideep Elawat. Also, guys, there was a show that came called Farzi that had Shahid Kapoor, that had Vijay Sethupathi, and in that show, and of course KK Menon and a lot of other stalwarts, the person who actually got discovered was Bhuvan Arora. So, no role is small, and like look at how much struggle and what format people have made it big in. I mean, Priyanka Chopra in Quantico, that was her entry into another space. And look what she's doing now. But my biggest learning from the session today is that you cannot do an industry session for just 1 hour. We should have at least had 3 hours with Rajeev. He might have pulled his hair out, but at least we would have benefited. But Rajeev, thank you so much. I know how hard it was for you to make time and come here. Thank you for coming here. And next year, he has to come here for longer. Tanushri beyond. I think we'll phasao Rajeev and ensnare him for doing this.
Genuinely, this is as much beneficial to me because it's important. Again, the film industry can become a bubble. It can, you're just living in an echo chamber, meeting the same kind of people. If one is able to have opportunities where one is talking to people who are the actual practitioners or people who are trying to make it into the business, that's, you have to have your ear to the ground. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Rajeev. This was amazing.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this wonderful session, and I'm sure there are a lot of takeaways that you've taken. What I've taken is, take a risk, go to Bombay, and to the writers, save your scripts from potential stealing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rajeev ji. Thank you, Smriti. Thanks a lot.